Hello and welcome to this special live stream. My name is Anuska Taylor, and it's been a while since I've done a live stream, to the point where I had to re-sign up to StreamYard again. So that's how long it's been. I didn't think it had been that long, but it has been a while. So welcome if you are watching live or if you are watching the replay. So today's topic is all about speaking fast and how we can actually slow down so people hear us and listen to us. And I decided to do a live stream of this topic because I actually did a video on this about a year ago, maybe just over a year ago. And it's by far the most popular video I've ever done on YouTube. So clearly I've touched something in people. This topic really resonates with people. So I wanted to offer a little bit more today in how you can work with this, because I think a lot of people struggle with this idea of speaking too fast. It's something that I hear a lot when I work privately with people, and clearly by this video, and I will put the link below if you haven't watched the video from last year. But just based on those comments, I was like, okay, there's something here. This is really affecting lots and lots of people. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And please do feel free to post questions. If you're watching the replay, please do feel free to post questions below the video, and I will very happily answer them afterwards. So whatever you're doing, watching live or watching the replay, please do post questions. So I spoke about this last year, but I'm just going to reiterate some of the points that I talked about last year. So first of all, really our pace of speaking is really linked to our rhythm of being. And so if we're someone that talks fast, we're likely to be someone that walks fast, that eats fast, that probably can't sit still, that finds it hard to relax, probably is someone that would never meditate, would find it very, very difficult to do anything that forces them to kind of slow down and go inward. So there are, I suppose, those people that will probably notice they speak fast all the time. And then I think there's a big chunk of people, which I would put myself in, and I think it's a lot of the time the people that I end up working with, who speak fast when they're nervous and when they're anxious. And so whichever side of the coin you're on, this video, I hope, is going to really, really help you, because I think this actually is fairly universal for us all in certain circumstances. But either way, whether you are someone that this is your sort of rhythm of being, you do everything fast, or whether it's just something that shows up for you when you're nervous or anxious, it's really a nervous energy that we're dealing with that comes out in the voice in speaking really, really fast. So however it shows up for you, it is exhausting for your audience and your listeners when they're trying to follow you. And truthfully, no one wants to have to work that hard to listen to anyone. We're so bombarded these days with videos and memes and everything on social media. We don't want to have to work that hard to listen to anyone. So there's that aspect to it, which I think is really important. So people will likely switch off if you speak really fast, unless they have to listen to you because you're their boss and they've got to get some information from you for something. But also from a sort of psychological perspective, it can convey this kind of insecurity. And again, we're not necessarily saying it, but we're unconsciously, we're kind of saying, don't listen to me. And there's this sort of almost like we're pushing people away because we don't really want to be heard, because on some level, if we talk fast, we know we can't really be heard. And it could be, you know, you're unconsciously saying, I don't really know what I'm talking about. I don't think I'm educated enough. I'm not knowledgeable enough. It's those types of things. I'm not smart enough. I don't know what I'm even doing here. And people often say that to me when they are nervous about a presentation, and maybe they do feel a bit like an imposter, like, what am I doing in this room with these people? So if I just speak fast, I can get this over and done with as quickly as possible. And that's obviously what's driving this. I don't feel comfortable in the limelight. I don't feel comfortable with people watching me and listening to me. So let me just speak fast and get this out of the way really, really quickly. So in my experience from a vocal perspective, and that's obviously, well, a lot of my work is sort of the psychology, but also the sort of vocal aspect and how it shows up in the voice. It goes hand in hand, often, not always, but often, with mumbling and a lack of clarity in the voice. And that's also why it makes it so difficult for people to follow us. It also often goes hand in hand with people that pull their voice back. So they're talking at the back of their throat and they're talking really, really fast and they're talking at the back of their throat. And so it's very, very difficult to hear them. And then with the added sort of complexity of speaking fast, we're now making it very, very difficult for people to hear us. So I find that they tend to go hand in hand. And often when someone comes to me and they say they know they speak fast, one of the things I will work on with them is more intentional articulation, because when you slow down your speech in the sense of articulating more clearly, you will be forced to slow down, because it's actually very, very challenging to speak quickly with clarity. Now, that's not to say it's not possible. It absolutely is possible to speak fast with clarity, but it does require some training. It does require some flexibility and some skill in the voice. And so if you're someone that never does any voice training or never works on your voice, you'll probably find that you would struggle to speak fast with clarity. We have to, when we're speaking fast with clarity, everything has to be kind of moving and fluid, and there has to be a freedom and flexibility in the voice. So think about if you've ever tried to do a tongue twister really fast, how challenging that is, because you've got to get everything moving really, really quickly. And that's just an example of how challenging it can be. The other thing I see as well, so as well as kind of mumbling and pulling the voice back, is often it goes hand in hand with high breath. So like a high, shallow breath versus a deep belly breath that's sort of driven more lower and really can then support the voice. And obviously that as well feeds into the anxiety, because when we feel anxious, we tend to breathe more shallow as well. So it's all kind of feeding into it. And then finally as well, I mean, without stating the obvious, when people are speaking fast, they're not normally pausing at all. It's just, I need to get through this at high speed and get it over and done with as quickly as possible. So there's no real pauses. Now, I've done separate videos on pauses, but there are many, many, many benefits to pauses. The most sort of simple benefit is it's really punctuation for your speech. It's helping your audience know that's where there's a comma, that's where there's a full stop, this is a new paragraph. If you just sort of rush through the whole thing, again, your audience gets lost. There's also obviously other reasons for pauses, sort of dramatic reasons. We can really draw our audience in. If we're asking them a question, then we might want to give them some space to think about the answer. So there's lots and lots of reasons for using pauses. But as I say, from the most basic level, it's really punctuation that's going to help your audience to understand what you're saying. So how do we work with this? Well, when I work with clients, and my work is really a kind of mind-body approach to the voice, because the mind and body are inextricably linked. We cannot separate ourselves from our voice, our body, our voice, our mind drives everything. So first of all, I think it's really, really important to understand that when we're public speaking, this might sound a bit of a strange thing to say, but it's not a solo activity. And often when we're in a public speaking situation, we feel like it's us versus them, and them being the audience. So it feels like we're in the spotlight, everyone's staring at us, and they're all kind of sitting in the audience judging us. That's how it can feel. But truthfully, we are all one. The audience is just responding to you, and you're basically kind of seeing yourself in the audience. There's this energetic connection between you and the audience. So when you feel nervous, they feel nervous. When you're relaxed, they're relaxed. When you're open, they're open. And the audience is just a mirror to us. And I remember when I kind of learned this through all the Jungian psychology training that I've done and what I incorporate into my voice coaching, the world is literally a mirror to us, including an audience. So if you think about a time that you have been in an audience, so think about being on the other side of the fence and you've been in the audience and you've been watching someone and you can tell that they're really nervous. They may not have said, I'm nervous, but you can feel their energy. I'm sure I'm not the only one to say that we want that person to do well. We're really kind of hoping and sort of praying that they can calm themselves down and actually get out what they actually want to say. So we want people to do well. And the audience have come to listen to you speak. They want to hear you speak. They want you to do well. And they don't want you to rush through your speech or your presentation. They want to be able to absorb your words. Depending on what you're doing, if it's training, they might want to take notes what you're saying. Or if you're asking questions, they might want to think about what you're saying. So we want to give the audience space to actually hear what we're saying and to really absorb it. And they really do appreciate it when they are given that space. So just really remembering that we are talking to an audience, not at the audience. And I think this is really important. When we start to see the audience as one, as a part of us, as a mirror to us, it takes that pressure off us. So we want to bring the focus away from ourselves and onto the audience. So what is best for my audience? Now, obviously, this is going to depend on what you're doing. If you're training people, you might want to give them even more space to absorb your words, and as I say, time to write notes, etc. But if you're perhaps doing a presentation or you're doing a speech or something, then you may not need to give people as much space. But when we're nervous or anxious, we tend to make it all about us. It's just human nature. It's what the ego does. It's like, what will people think of me? Will people like me? Do I sound knowledgeable? Do I look okay? Do people think I'm educated enough, etc., etc.? So the ego's full of itself in all of us. This is what it does. So when we're in this position, we really want to start to make it about the audience. Like, what do they actually need? And put your focus on what's best for them, which will mean slowing your speech down. How can I best serve them? If I was in the audience right now, what would I want? What would I need from this presentation or speech or whatever it is you're doing? Particularly if it's training, you want to give people more space. So that's the first thing. So really start to see the audience as connected to you. We're all one. The audience is just a mirror. And how can I serve the audience? What do they need from me? And I think just that sort of switch from putting all the focus on ourselves and what will people think of me to what's best for my audience takes the pressure off us and then gives us the space to actually just deliver the best speech, presentation, training, whatever it is you're doing to your best possible way of doing it. So that's number one. So number two, and again, because I said about this being a mind-body connection, we've got to connect to our body. And it sort of feeds into number one, because when we are in our head, when we are worrying about what people are thinking about us, we are completely in our head. We're not even in our body anymore. We're just completely disconnected to our body. We're sort of focused from neck upwards. It's like, what will people think of me? So this is something that if you're not very good at connecting to your body normally, you want to sort of practice this on a daily basis, and don't wait until you've got a really important presentation before you start doing this. But assuming that you have found some way of connecting to your body in your day-to-day life, perhaps you meditate or you do yoga or some way that you connect to your body and your breath, what I would suggest you do before an important meeting, presentation, or speech is you connect to your body. And so that might mean, stretching, like really big stretches. It could mean rolling your shoulders, just really opening this part of the body up, because as a general rule in our modern life, we tend to be hunched over, we tend to be collapsed in. Obviously, the larynx is here, so we want the space for the larynx to kind of freely move, for the breath to move. So we don't want to be like hunched over, squished over. So we want to open up our body. Cat cows are really good if anyone does any yoga. You can do them seated. So chin to the ceiling, chin to the chest, just sort of opening the neck. You can do some neck stretches. I've got the videos on this, so I won't go through this in massive amounts of depth, but just to say, you want to open everything up. The shoulders, the arms, the chest, the neck, get some movement. And then, because the articulators are what you're going to be using to articulate, meaning the jaw, the tongue, and the lips, we want to make sure that we're warming those up as well first, because if you just sort of roll out of bed and just start speaking, things aren't going to be as flexible as they could be if you just got a bit of movement through them first. So I'll just give you some very quick things, but again, I've got videos on this, so you can watch this as a separate thing. But clean your teeth with your tongue. I love this exercise. So pretend that you're cleaning your teeth with your tongue. I give this to pretty much every client that I work with. So cleaning your teeth with your tongue. So clean the outside of your teeth and the inside of your teeth. And what you'll notice is you'll get a really big stretch down each side of the tongue. Another thing you can do is really wake the lips up, because again, lips are really, really important for speech. You'd be surprised how many people barely move their lips when they speak. So we want to get some lip movement as well, some deliberate lip movement. And if you know you're someone that doesn't really move their lips that much, I mean, just watch yourself speak and you'll see, then things like an ooh, again, this is another thing I give to clients quite frequently. We're just getting the cheeks and the lips and all the muscles in the face activated. Ooh, 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 and you can do it quickly, and you'll really start to feel some blood flow around the cheeks and the lips. Another one, because I like cats, is you can say meow. Now, you don't have to say this out loud if there's people around, but you can if that's your thing. So literally, you're just going to go meow, meow, but you could do it silently. But the idea is we're bringing the lips together and then we're stretching everything out and open. That's really the goal with this. We're just moving the lips into that sort of pursed place, into the place. So we're getting maximum blood flow around the cheeks and the lips. So when you've kind of warmed all of that up, you've got a little bit of movement through your articulators. Also with the jaw, if you know that you're someone that has a tight jaw, you can give the masseter a nice massage, and you can gently open and close your jaw at the same time. Again, I think a lot of people hold tension through their jaw. I certainly do. It's very common. So again, you may find that your jaw cracks when you yawn. Things like that are going to give you a sense that, yes, there is some tension in my jaw. So just loosening that. Now, the jaw, in terms of speech, it doesn't need to be overly engaged. We're not opening our jaw that much, but we want it softly open. So it's not tense and closed. And that's what I see quite a lot with people, particularly when they speak fast and everything's kind of shut down, is there's a lot of tension through the jaw, and then they're talking about this really, really fast, and nothing's actually really moving. So we want to just get a softness through the jaw and let then the lips and the tongue do a lot of the work in terms of bringing the sound forward and out. So this is all just preparing yourself, getting into your body, getting out of your head, getting into your body. And then finally, and this definitely is not least, is really to take some deep belly breaths. So put your hand on your belly. And as you inhale, you want to let the belly swell. And then as you breathe out, just pull the belly in gently. So we're letting the belly swell and then just pull back in gently. And we're really deepening the breath. Now, this is brilliant for many reasons. One, because it's really activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which is going to calm you if you're feeling anxious. But also we're really anchoring and grounding into our body. And we're also helping to ground our voice as well, because we're bringing the breath that little bit deeper so it can really support the voice. When we're nervous, as I said at the beginning, we tend to breathe very, very shallow, puts a lot of pressure through the larynx. We can't actually ever voice with maximum power and minimum effort like that. So breathe into your body and just notice what you feel, because what we tend to do is when something doesn't feel very comfortable, we run away as quickly as possible. So I have been in this situation many times myself. I can get very nervous as well before I'm going on stage, and I will just sit there and I will breathe into, even if I feel like I want to throw up, which sometimes is how I'm feeling. Allow yourself to feel that nauseousness if that's what you feel, but just be with it. And know that if you don't resist the feeling, it will pass. What happens is we tend to push away the feeling as soon as we feel it, like, oh my God, I feel really terrified. Let me distract myself. And then all we're doing is we're feeding that feeling, and then it doesn't go anywhere. And I think for a lot of people, they fear that if they feel a feeling, they'll end up in this pit of despair. But it's actually the opposite. It's because we're avoiding it that we end up in a pit of despair. So allow yourself to feel, even if your heart is going 10 to the dozen, you can feel your heart coming out of your chest, you feel sick, whatever it is you're feeling, just allow yourself to feel it. And then finally, for the voice, yawning is brilliant. It really opens up the back of the throat. I guess I don't really need to demonstrate a yawn, but it's like just allow the back of the throat to open, because that's something that often gets squeezed and squished when we feel nervous. And then sigh. So it's this kind of yawn sigh. So, and allow the voice to move. Allow it to kind of go up and down, or just allow it to move up and down, down and up, but just allow the voice out. So this is all about anchoring into your body, feeling what you're feeling, not allowing yourself to run away. But it is a practice. If you don't normally do things like this, and then you suddenly try and do this 5 minutes before you're about to go on stage, it might be a bit weird. So I would suggest trying to get into a habit of just getting into your body, feeling what you feel, even if it's for like 30 seconds, just allow yourself to feel your body. So that's number 2. Then number 3 is around articulation, so intentional articulation. So I said at the beginning that it's very, very common for speaking fast to go hand in hand with mumbling, with mushy kind of speech and a lack of clarity in the voice. They tend to go hand in hand because it is a challenge to speak fast with clarity. Not impossible by any stretch of the imagination, but you need flexibility and agility in your voice and your articulators. And most likely, not to say that there aren't people out there, but most likely you probably haven't done any voice training, and you're probably not training your voice. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be watching this video. So really, really important to start to bring more intentional articulation into your speaking, because you will, by definition, slow down because you can't do it fast. So first of all, as I said before, like, watch yourself speak, like watch yourself in a video or in the mirror, like watch yourself. What do your lips, your tongue and your jaw do? Do you notice that your breath is high? Do you notice you're squeezing into your throat or your neck when you speak? Like, what are you doing? Just start to become aware. And then what we're going to do, and you can obviously practice this in your own time, is a way to kind of warm up the articulators in preparation for speech is, and this is again another exercise I give to private clients, so anyone that works with me that will recognize this exercise. So you can basically get a pen or a pencil or something that's long and thin that you can put between your back teeth. And the idea of this is we're just allowing the jaw to softly drop. Now, we're not gripping through the pen, so we're not going, so we're not creating tension. We're allowing a soft opening in the jaw. And then the idea is that you're going to speak, and I'm going to give you a tongue twister, but you could use anything you like. And you're going to move your lips and your tongue in the most deliberate, intentional way you can. So the tongue twister is Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. But you're going to do this with the pen between your back teeth. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. And then say it without the pen. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. And I would almost guarantee that you will find that when you do it with the pen and you really move your lips and your tongue, then you take the pen out and then you say it again, you will feel like there's so much more space. It will feel so much easier. Why is that? Because the articulators are now far more engaged, moving. They're really supporting and assisting the voice versus what normally happens when we speak fast, as they don't really do very much. We just talk really, really fast. So when we really get them engaged, then there's a freedom in the voice. So try that exercise, put a pen or a pencil, or I've got a metal straw here as well. You could use anything really that's long and thin that you can put between your back teeth. Try and say that, but the most important thing is your lips and your tongue have to move more than they normally would. There's no point doing it and just talking like this. You've got to really move your lips and your tongue. And then I promise you will notice a difference. So this is a really, really nice way. If you've got a speech that you're going to give, you could actually practice it with the pen between your back teeth to get your lips and your tongue engaged, and then take the pen out and read it again. I promise you it'll be easier, and it will sound better for your audience as well. And most importantly, you will have to slow down. So finally, number 4, and now we're sort of bringing everything together, is you can practice on a section of your presentation or speech. And this is a really nice way to really start to gauge your pace and also play around with some different paces of speech. So what you want to do is get 150 words section of your speech or presentation. And obviously for most people, we're doing stuff on computers, so it's pretty easy to go into Word and just select 150 words. So you've got 150 words. And then what I'd like you to do, you're going to actually read this 3 times, and you're going to record it each time and listen back. It's really important that you record it and you listen back, because what you hear in your head is not what anyone else hears. So I want you to actually really start to listen to what other people are hearing. So the first time you read it, I'd like you to read it at your normal pace, whatever that is. If that's really fast, fine. Just read it at your normal pace. But I'd like you to time it and note the time. So there's no right or wrong. This is just your baseline. This is just where you are. This is where your voice is, which is fine. Now then, read the same 150 words, and this time give yourself 2 minutes to read it. So you can get a stopwatch on your phone, time 2 minutes, read the same 150 words, and notice, how does this feel? I can pretty much guarantee you're going to find this incredibly difficult to fill the 2 minutes. I find it difficult to fill 2 minutes. And I wouldn't say I talk particularly fast. So it's meant to be a challenge. It's meant to be an extreme version of this exercise. What you're going to have to do to fill 2 minutes is you're going to have to pause. You're going to have to breathe. You're going to have to speak slower. If you just race through it, you'll probably be done in 30 seconds. So you're going to have to deliberately give yourself space, pausing, breathing, emphasizing words, really allow those words to come alive. But this is an extreme, so I'm not suggesting that this is what you do in your normal speaking. This is just an exercise to show you the other side of the coin, basically. Then the final one you're going to do, so this is the third one, is you're going to read the same 150 words, but this time you're going to read it in a minute. So again, get your stopwatch on your phone, time yourself for a minute, read the same blurb. And notice how that feels and sounds. Now, you will still have the space to pause and to slow down, but the 150 words is actually really what we're aiming for with presenting and training. This is the ideal pace for presenting and training. So you want to kind of practice this until it becomes a more comfortable sort of normal pace for you when presenting and training. And see what opens up for you, because if you're used to rushing through something, suddenly you've got a little bit more time. You can pause, you can breathe, you can emphasize, you can play around with dynamics. You can just access more creativity in your voice when you have space. And remembering at the beginning, I was saying it's all about your audience. What is going to make it more interesting for them is if your voice is more engaging to listen to than if it's just monotone and it's just rushing through it and it's mumbling. Let's just bring the words alive. So just to give you a sense, so 150 words per minute, roughly speaking, is training and presenting pace. 190 words per minute is roughly conversational pace. And then 240 words per minute is what we would perceive to be quite fast. So that could be, think of, say, an auctioneer or a sports commentator that talk fast. I mean, they have to talk fast because things are happening fast. So they can't talk slowly because the world would have moved on. But just think about that in terms of, okay, where does my pace sit between the 240 words a minute, which is fast, versus 150 words per minute, which is really where we want to be for training and presenting. Now, just as another thing as well, obviously you're not going to walk around with a stopwatch and time yourself. This is just a rough guideline for you, so you can start to practice what pace you're kind of really aiming for training and presenting. But just to bear in mind as well, it's going to depend on the space you're in. If you're in a really big room, like a really big conference room or something, you will want to speak slower because the sound is going to get lost. Obviously, you can get away with speaking faster as long as your voice is clear when you're in a smaller room and a smaller space. So just as a final point, ultimately, as a speaker, you are aiming for variety and creativity and bringing that contrast out in your speaking. So whether it's pitch, whether it's pace, whether it's dynamics, whatever it is, we want to be really using all of those tools to add meaning to our words and to bring our words alive, so we can be the most expressive and engaging speaker we can be, which again is going to be far more engaging for our audience than if it's just all the same, regardless of what we're saying. So speaking faster is not bad at all, as long as you can be understood. And I would say as well that speaking fast can be really brilliant if you're storytelling, because it adds some energy and some vibrancy to your words. But as long as you can be understood. Equally, speaking slow, like very slow, may actually benefit you in terms of your speech. If you want to draw your audience in, you might slow down your speech because you want people to listen to you. There's a sort of an authority sometimes and a confidence there when we slow our speech down. But we want it to be a conscious choice. And all of my coaching, if I was to summarize it, it's you having access to your full voice and you having conscious choice over how you use your voice versus your voice uses you. And that is possible. But obviously that's a whole other topic, because then we're having to look at conditioning and all of that kind of thing. But just to know that that's what you're aiming for. Speaking fast isn't bad. We just want to make sure that it fits with what we're saying, and it's not just one speed, that we're using it to kind of bring our words alive. So that's what I had for you today. I hope that that has been useful. And hello to, I don't know how you pronounce it, Subrata, is it? Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Yeah, so hopefully that has been of use to you. If you haven't watched my video from last year, which I talked about more of this, then please do watch that. I will put the link below under this video. If you are interested in working on your voice privately with me, as I said, so my voice coaching is really a lot deeper than just voice exercises and giving you some tools to slow down your speech. It's really looking at the underlying vocal habits and patterns and why we have created the voice we've created, which is really based on our conditioning and what we've been taught is okay or not okay, acceptable, not acceptable way to use our voice. The challenge for us all is most of our conditioning, we're not even conscious of most of it. It's just like a fish in water. We don't even know we're in water. We've just accepted certain things that's just how you do it. That's just what's possible. So when we actually start to unpeel, when we start to reveal those sort of layers of the unconscious, then we can actually start to choose how we use our voice in any situation. So my voice coaching, if you're interested in learning more, it's a minimum 8-week commitment, but you can book a free consult, and I'll put the link below. If you just like to have an experience of me helping you with your voice, just as a sort of intro session, this would be more of a lesson, more of a session where we would do things like this, then you can also book a 1-hour intro session. And I will put the link below to that as well. But thank you so much. And please do ask questions below if you've got any questions. I'm very, very happy to answer them. But until next time, I'm going to plan to do some more live streams because it's good for me to do them as well. It's a different energy I think I bring to the table when they're live versus they're pre-recorded. So thank you so much, and I will see you hopefully soon, or if not, I'll see you next week on my next video. Take care and have a great rest of your day.